Hi, this is Denise Mathew, and welcome to the 7th episode of The Energy of Emotion. Today, we're going to continue to explore the emotionally defined solar plexus and discover how our emotions are expressed through the individual channels. In our last episode, we talked about the channel 1949, as well as how the hanging gates 19 and 49 express themselves. Today, we're going to talk about the individual emotional wave 1222, how it differs from the other emotional waves, as well as how the energy shows up when the gates 12 or 22 are hanging. With that said, let's get started and discover a little bit more about the energy of emotion. I mentioned this in previous videos, but just for a quick review, there are two individual emotional waves. They're the 3955 and also the 1222. The 3955 connects the root to the emotional center, and the 1222 connects the emotional center to the throat. I'm going to focus on the channel 1222 today, and the next episode will be all about the 3955. We've already talked a lot about tribal emotional waves, so now we're doing a complete switch and talking about individual energy. Now, when we talk about individual energy, we're talking about being an individual or bringing a personal flavor to everything you do. This is creating more for the sake of creating as opposed to creating for a particular purpose. Where tribal energy is concerned with what's good for the whole, individual energy is concerned with what's good for the self. And because of this, it encourages people to be authentically themselves. And one more difference in the energy is that the tribal emotional energy is usually activated by some sort of trigger, but individual emotional waves are exactly like that. They're individual. And that means that everyone has a different pattern for their emotional waves, and some people don't even have a pattern at all. And just for review, when we talk about a pattern, we mean a pattern that someone with an emotional wave can see, and it's based on how long it takes for someone to go through a full emotional wave, or basically going from feeling their best to feeling their most down or their most blue. And one more thing about the 1222 is that because it connects the emotional center, which is a motor, to the throat center, this channel is only going to be found in manifestors and also manifesting generators. Something that's common in individual emotional waves is that they're considered to have high highs and low lows, but like all other emotional waves, they need time for clarity. When we talk about clarity, we're talking about the concept that there's a need to go through the full emotional wave like we just mentioned. And you would do that before you make a bigger decision in life to see if it feels good. It's also called your emotional authority. I have a whole video on the authority if you want to check it out, and I'll leave the link below. When you carry the 1222 energy, it's considered to be manifested, and that means the energy has a direct access to the throat like we just mentioned. And in human design, the name of the game is always about getting energy to the throat. When you have a motor that goes directly to the throat like the 1222 does, it's considered powerful energy. I've mentioned before about big waves in human design, and the 1222 would be considered a big wave. There's a lot of passion, creativity, romance, music, sexuality, and it's very mutative, which means it's here to change the status quo. And because of that, it can be very impactful. Because this energy is very passionate, waiting for clarity for the duration of a whole emotional wave can be a difficult task to do. So it's easy to jump into decisions before going through the emotional wave and to later regret it. In other words, people can say yes to the wrong things. And if this happens, they can get committed or roped into things they don't want to do, and it can cause frustration and anger because this is all about the self energy. And for that reason, it's about pleasing the self. And doing something that they don't really want to do can be really tough for somebody with individual energy. And when forced to do something they don't really want to do, they can come across as angry and sometimes even volatile, especially verbally. When somebody carries this energy, they might be comfortable talking about their feelings since they have a direct access from their emotional center to their throat. As well as their feelings, they can also talk about their creativity, and also what's unique about them can be expressed as well, but only when they're in the right mood. Otherwise, they may not want to talk about themselves or anything at all. There's a lot of duality in the channel 1222, and it can be somebody who's shy or alternatively bold. It really depends upon how they're feeling in that moment. Energetically, it really is about being off or on, so there's potential for articulation of their individuality or not. As I mentioned before, there's charm and grace, musical talent, writing talent, and deep creativity and poetry in this channel, but only really if the person who carries it is in the mood. They need to feel in the mood to perform. And when it's on, they can have an innovative energy that travels unexplored territories with a passion that is unparalleled. People who carry this energy appear calm and self-assured, but beneath the surface, emotional energy may be bubbling and trying to break the surface. And even if someone is not expressing or they're bottling up their emotions, their aura can give off a level of intensity. Since their emotional energy has a direct access to the throat or the manifestation center, internalization may affect the manifesting abilities of the person who carries this energy. Swings in emotions are normal, and it's important that when you carry this energy that you acknowledge and allow your expression of whatever emotions you feel. What that means is that there are times when it's better to spend time alone and process your feelings, and other times when it's wonderful to socialize. This emotional energy is infectious, so when you're high, others feel the same, and the reverse is just as true. This channel is all about timing, so when the mood is right, then the timing is right to talk or express themselves. But when the timing is not correct, they may struggle to find the correct words to express their truth, even though they probably can feel it inside of them. Sometimes when the emotional energy feels like too much to handle, directing the energy into something creative, dance, or any kind of activity that allows freedom to express the self can be really helpful. The key with this energy is to try not to focus on the low side of the wave and instead allow yourself to be where you are. Because if there's anything that can be said about emotional waves is that they're changeable. And if given a chance and space to experience all parts of the wave, the energy will flow and keep flowing. And by doing so, it will put you directly into the flow of life, a place where true magic can happen. To see how this energy can express itself in real life, we have two actors, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy. They did Mad Max a few years ago, a movie that was a remake of a Mel Gibson movie. From what was said, the two actors didn't like each other very much at all, and they had a lot of disagreements on set, which would make a lot of sense when you think about the individual energy that both of them are bringing. They're both passionate about what they're doing, passionate about their craft, and they have a certain way of how they want to express their individuality. And then you have somebody else who's trying to express their individuality as much as you're trying to, and you can have a lot of clashes. So it's kind of interesting how these two people with 1222 energy really just didn't get along because they just couldn't find a common ground, because it's kind of hard to find a common ground when it's all about what you bring to the table and not necessarily what anybody else does. It's the nature of the individual energy, and it can sometimes be the my way or highway kind of mentality. And another thing that might have helped to have a difficult relationship between the two of them is that when they come together, energetically, all centers are defined. And what that means is generally you don't have a lot of commonality when you have somebody who has no openness between you and them. Because open centers come with some level of fluidity, and defined centers are very fixed in their nature. This doesn't always have to happen, but it can sometimes happen in a relationship where there's all defined centers like it is with these two. The hanging gate 12 can be considered a gate of articulation and communication, since it's a throat gate or connected to the throat. So when you carry this energy, you can be clear in how you communicate or not. It's really about how you feel in that moment. The gate 12 can also be considered a mystical gate, in that some people believe that the gate connects with the angelic realm or higher dimensions. Whether you believe that or not, the one fact that remains with this gate is that waiting for correct timing to share is really important. We know that the channel 1222 can come with shyness, so if we're actually looking for a gate that carries the shyness, then that would be the gate 12. The shyness that's expressed from the gate 12 can sometimes be considered by others to be aloofness, but that may not necessarily be quite true. This so-called aloofness is all about biding time, because the energy needs to wait for right timing and also satisfy the need to know if they're being honored or not for what they have to share. Because when the timing is not correct and someone with this energy speaks their truths boldly, they may receive unpleasant or angry reactions to their candor. And when they meet resistance, this energy can retreat, and there can be a sense of inertia and also reticence. But if the timing's correct and the audience is open, then there's much wisdom that can be imparted with their individual voice of influence. Because the energy is mutative, those who carry it are here to shift things up. It's the energy that can be representative of a musician who becomes frustrated because nobody gets them, or a musician who people understand and appreciate. The only difference really is timing. When the timing's right, the energy can instill confidence in others and even bring changes in how others view the world. And more importantly, by being themselves, they encourage others to be themselves too. The gate 22 is all about grace and charm. This is self-focused, creative energy. To carry this energy, you can have musical talent or some kind of creative talent. And when in the mood, when you carry this energy, you can be very charming, and not charming at all if you're not in the right mood. By nature, somebody who has this gate can work a room, or be a wallflower if they're not feeling it. There's a natural grace about people with this energy as well, whether in body movements, the way they dress, speak, or their sense of refinement. The grace and charm in this energy is less about bonding and more about expressing the self, despite what people might think. When in the right frame of mind, and especially with the right mood, having this energy can draw others to you. This is an individual and self-focused energy that with maturity allows you to learn when and when not to share your truth. And when this happens, the pearls of wisdom that you're about to share can be received in the best possible way. So that's it for today. But please be sure to tune in next time when we'll talk about the individual emotional wave 3955, how it looks as a channel, as well as how it looks when you have hanging gates 39 and 55. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.